So the general election is some time away, but already there is a poll out that should make Republicans and Donald Trump a little nervous. Now, this poll has been released from the campaign of Senator Bernie Sanders. Now, this is basically internal polling numbers that they have released to the press. Now, this press release, this poll release, actually shows Bernie Sanders with a commanding lead in three incredibly important states over Donald Trump. Now, according to the internal data released to reporters by the campaign, Sanders is leading Trump by double digits in Michigan, Wisconsin, and leads in Pennsylvania by 8 points. Dang. Now, why is this important? Again, considering how far we are out from an actual general election. Now, look, this actually matches some of the earlier polling back from 2016. Again, he was running against Hillary Clinton. He ran an insurgent campaign. He made up a gigantic, gap, from a lead by Hillary Clinton. And so pollsters did similar, matchups, hypothetical matchups between Bernie and Trump. And it was the same. He would continue to lead Trump by double digits while Hillary Clinton actually polled incredibly closely to Donald Trump. And in a lot of cases, or some cases, Hillary Clinton actually polled much worse than Donald Trump. And of course, you had the polls. You could say, well, the polls were incredibly wrong. They did show Hillary Clinton ahead in most circumstances. And now look who's the president. So you can't trust polls. Well, again, you should take polls with a grain of salt. I understand that. Especially based on their methodology. But the whole point is you can see a little bit of a pattern here. And that pattern is really important, especially since these are very important states in the Midwest. You've got the Rust Belt, right? Now, we've got more caveats here. The poll did not measure other Democratic candidates against Trump, which why would they? They're internal polls, in head-to-head matchups. And it also did not include a scenario in which third-party candidate like former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz is on the ballot. Now that one, look, why would it matter if Howard Schultz is on the ballot? Howard Schultz is polling at 0%. I mean, oh no, Howard Schultz is going to take votes from Bernie Sanders. Are you kidding me? Seriously. No, I think he would take maybe some Biden supporters, but not that much. Again, he would be basically statistically insignificant in the polling. So I don't think that matters. But again, the article had to mention that. But look, Ben Tolchin, by the way, Sanders pollster, says that these results, even though it has some caveats in it, says, look, man, Sanders is in a uniquely strong position to take on Trump. And again, this is why this matters. I don't think it's any generic Democrat that fits the mold here in the Midwest. Trump is vulnerable here, but it has to be for the right kind of Democrat who has real strengths and can win these three states. I don't think any other candidate is as well positioned as Bernie in these three states. Now, again, that's super relevant and super important to point out. Here we had the establishment always told us, oh no, what you need to do in order to win these areas that, went for Donald Trump in this election, you need to go to the center. You need to appeal to the Republican votes. You need to appeal to the right wing. You can't go too far left because they'll never vote for you, right? But wait, we went to the center with Hillary Clinton. We actually went to the right when it came to Hillary Clinton, and we lost terribly. Donald Trump is now president of the United States. So that kind of blows that conventional wisdom out of the water. And again, here's early polling that suggests that Bernie Sanders has an incredibly good chance of carrying these Midwest states that were really important. Remember, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, these are places that Hillary Clinton did not campaign in. These are states that I guess she assumed that she would win, and didn't really try to win in these areas. And so, again, that really contributed to the loss in the Electoral College. Bernie Sanders doing really strongly there. I would be very surprised to see any other candidate, perhaps with the exception of Pete Buttigieg. And why do I say Buttigieg, right? Not because I like Buttigieg. He's got some problems, right? But I'm saying he's got that Midwest. Now the thing about him is he's got no policy. He actually actively doesn't talk about policy. He's trying to avoid it. Oh, I don't want to get into the minutia of policy and all that. No, then now is the time to get into the minutia of policy because you have to actually stand for something. Nonetheless, he is from the Midwest, and he might actually pull pretty well in the Midwest. In fact, he's some of the most recent recent polls show him basically catching up with Joe Biden or being sometimes neck and neck with Joe Biden at number 2, which Bernie Sanders, of course, is the clear frontrunner for the Democratic Party. And I also love, in a related tangent here, how a lot of the articles pointing that out don't actually talk about Sanders. They all talk about Buttigieg, Biden, and completely ignore the Democratic frontrunner. Of course they do. But anyway, now there's some data points here that the campaign highlighted that include why Bernie Sanders would actually do fairly well against Donald Trump and could win. A majority of voters there believe the country is on the wrong track, disapprove of Trump's handling of the job, and most importantly here, support Medicare for all. That is a big one. So now Bernie Sanders is responsible for bringing that policy into the mainstream. Now, it's not as radical to be in favor of Medicare for all, unless, of course, he has the GOP, which is now basically making a tax on Medicare for all that continue to backfire amazingly. There's a tweet by the official account of the Republican Party, the GOP, that said something along, and I'm going to paraphrase that, Medicare for all will cause 180 million people to lose their insurance and give lower quality of care. And it's a complete government takeover of healthcare. That's their attack, which of course, none of that's true. Not even the complete government takeover of healthcare. No, that would be the UK system. In reality, we would just have a government takeover of the insurance industry, which, would basically bar any insurance company from covering anything that Medicare for All covers, which would basically relegate them to a supplementary insurance plan. Okay, fair enough. Right. But again, he pushed it when it wasn't popular. That's how it got into the mainstream. And that says a lot. And I think that says a lot to voters. It says that Bernie Sanders is a trendsetter, right? That he believes in these policies. He's always pushed for them and did not jump on the bandwagon because of its political expedience, in which I think a lot of these people, unfortunately, who are now running as Democrats in 2020, I think some of them have jumped on the bandwagon because it's popular. And voters remember that. Trust is a big, big factor here. And I'd like to think that a lot of people make their decisions on who they trust to implement those policies. And I don't think anybody's really earned that trust like Bernie Sanders has. That said, this is an early poll. It's a long way out. We've got a Democratic primary to fight. But if this polling advantage holds out, well, then Bernie Sanders is still the obvious choice to take on Donald Trump in 2020, because Bernie Sanders is going to win. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.